Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Remember, we are making sense of IEBC 2 months. The commissioners are in office now. The preparations ahead of the 24 by-elections slated for November and the 2027 polls. Just a reminder of our guests tonight with me in studio. Dr. Alutalala Mukhwana is an IEBC commissioner. Now, Commissioner, before the break, we talked of independence.
Yes.
You made a fundamental point that it is nearly impossible to steal elections. What do you say to those who observe the political landscape and some politicians publicly, and needless to add recklessly, saying that they will steal the 2027 election? Wajia Woman Rep, for instance, saying tutamuongezea mtu fulani. Oscar Sudi is on record having equally said they will top up the results.
Okay. You know, Abdullahi, I used to mention names of our political leadership when I was in the analysis phase. Where I am now, in my capacity as a commissioner of IEBC, I address specifics that concern us. So please permit me to say this. Sometimes, as a commission, we get uncomfortable because some remarks have the effect of denting the credibility of IEBC. They not only have the capacity to dent the credibility of IEBC, but they also discourage the interests of voters in participating in the electoral process. Because these leaders have followers who believe in them, who trust them. And when they make some comments, those comments have the effect of either helping the commission or actually destroying the commission, maybe unwittingly. And so you realize that if, for example, the comments are to the effect that whatever happens, imeenda, okay, as a good politician would like to say, what are you telling the voter, the average voter? That something has already been cooked? These politicians have influence over IEBC. These politicians are the ones who appointed IEBC. And after all, just because before we were appointed, there were graphics in the papers showing whose godfather was who. We didn't see any godmother. I don't know why they discriminate. And so it actually leads to voter apathy. As a commission, what guides us is electoral law, particularly the Electoral Code of Conduct, which bars candidates from engaging in talks that can be counterproductive, not only to the credibility of the election, but also to the peace and stability of the nation before, during, and after the elections. However,
Commissioner, regardless of the reckless remarks these politicians have made in the past, I think the fundamental question what we'll ask is, how easy or difficult is it to top up? Is it possible to top up? Kujazilia, as they are saying.
It is not possible. And I would advise the citizens to let the politicians be. Of course, as IEBC, we can simply and kindly beg that our politicians do exercise restraint, particularly when it comes to making remarks about whether or not this voting will go this way or that way. But on the whole, we urge as a commission the citizens to understand that from where we sit, it is not possible to steal an election. And Abakar, next time, invite me and my team. I always make a point to work with our tech leads. So that we do a simulation here. This is a promise I made to KTN in the morning, and I can still make to you, that we do a simulation here. I bring the director of elections, I bring the manager of elections, and simulate how voting is done. And then ask any member of the public to tell us how it is possible that, for example, in a polling station where the kit is configured only to accept 700 voters, because the law says, Section 38A says, each polling station can only have 700 voters. there is no way you're going to have more than 700.
Fair enough. Let's not dwell on the comments of those politicians.
Yes.
We are 702 days away to the elections. Of course, IBC is more than welcome to explain to Kenyans on TV 47 and Radio 47 of how the process is.
Yes.
We have what some have termed as one of the most expensive electoral and elections models.
Okay.
Why is it so, in your view?
Thank you. Again, I have heard that. Expensive must be put in context. Expensive must be relative. If we just say the election is expensive without putting it in context, then we miss the point. But yes, it is expensive. But why is it expensive? What are the cost drivers? Number one, we must all be reminded that our elections are largely manual. What we do is we use biometrics in terms of registration. We also use biometrics in terms of identification, and we use electronic transmission. Apart from that, everything is manual. And even where we have transmitted, for example, the results for presidential, because we don't trust each other, we have put layers and layers of laws. For instance, even after you transmit the presidential tally to the National Tallying Center, the form must physically be delivered by all the constituents, all. Physically, imebebwa, ikasindikizwa na askari waliobeba bunduki kwa sababu tuaminiani hadi polling kule tallying center, National Tallying Center wakati ule ilikuwa ni Bomas. Wakati huu hatujui itakuwa ni gani, maana Bomas inaendelea katika ukarabati. So number one, our voting is manual. If it pains us enough that we are spending too much money on our elections, we ought to look at the possibility of making our voting digital.
And you say, if as a commission, do you think we are overspending on the electoral system?
No, I wouldn't go there. Allow me to go to the next one. Let's look at what is costing this. We have 46,229 polling stations. In each polling station is a separate unit. You know, it's important that citizens understand this. In each polling station, we have a minimum of 10 employees whom we pay. Multiply 10 minimum, they go to 12 because there are more other logistics. We have to feed them. Now, multiply 46,000, for example, times 10. You're talking of over 500,000 employees that have to be paid. Then there are logistics. So when you look at the cumulative sum, you realize that we are heavy on human resource, we are heavy on hardware, we are heavy on ballot papers. Do you know how many ballot papers at the end of the day are cast in our elections? 132 million. And do you know, for instance, how much it will cost us if we went e-voting? Much less. You also must appreciate, Abubakar, that we have 6 elections same day, from presidency to member of county assembly. 6. And yet, when we compare, for example, with India, as I was coming, our manager was telling us that India does not employ polling clerks, the presiding officers, they use public servants.
People already in the payroll of the government.
So I think we need a day when we can now look at what are the cost drivers, when you have plenty of time, what are the cost drivers of our elections? But yes, it's a lot of money. And yet the country's fiscal headroom is thinner and thinner. We ought to do better. But it is a national conversation that cannot be answered by IBC in our present circumstances.
Fair enough.
For now, we'll move with what we have and ensure that we deliver the election as we are required.
IBC is a referee in an often heated political landscape.
Yes.
To contextualize in the Kenyan setup.
Yes.
We have not seen a gubernatorial results invalidated by the courts. We have not seen a senator. At least we have seen a member of parliament, I believe in Magarini. Why is the focus really and the contestation then on the presidential results?
Thank you. I want you to allow me to give you what it is that my team has just shared with me here.
Yes.
In terms of in terms of, sorry, it doesn't seem to be coming, in terms of what exactly were the petitions like. Mm-hmm. With respect to governors, there was a 0 successful petition.
Fair enough.
With respect to members of parliament, members of the Senate, Magarini stands out. With respect to members of the county assembly, a few. Presidential, it wasn't successful. Mm-hmm. So then, in terms of success rate, overall, for the 2022 elections, 92%.
But often the contestation of that success rate is on the presidential level,
precisely.
Isn't it? Uh-huh.
So then that vindicates IBC, because then it would appear that the problem really is never on any other elective seat, mm-hmm. but the problem is with the presidential election. And that is why I have opined in other fora mm-hmm. that it is high time we looked at the reasons why the presidential election is a high-octane election. Mm-hmm. Why is it that there are disagreements about presidential election in this country? And one of the reasons that I have given is that it is the electoral system that we have in this country. Mm-hmm. The electoral system that we have in this country is what promotes majoritarianism. Mm-hmm. It's called first past the post. In other words, the winner just needs 50 mm-hmm. plus 1. So it matters not that the loser has 48%. Mm-hmm. He goes home with nothing. It is a high time maybe we considered, is it the right electoral system we need? That is a thought that the nation needs to have going forward. Mm-hmm. Because whereas it gives you a clear winner, mm-hmm. it is a win that does not promote the winner to enjoy his win and the loser to accept in grace. Mm-hmm. It is the electoral system that we need to look at. But most importantly also for our politicians, we need to have a culture where the winner is allowed to savour his victory mm-hmm. and the loser accepting grace to move on. The Ghanaians have shown us. Mm-hmm. So the volatility of our elections in this country mm-hmm. disposes us to be acrimonious, and for the umpire, remember IEBC is overseeing these volatile politics.
Fair enough.
And therefore, they're bound to emerge with the bruises.
And IEBC often stipulates the guidelines in as far as the timeline is concerned for electioneering and politicking.
Yes, yes.
We have seen quite politicians, both from the government and the opposition, politicking, talking of the 2027 polls, talking of terms, be it 2 or 1, depending on which side of the political divide some are.
Yes.
Does it worry the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission that the country seemingly is an eternally politicking, electioneering country?
Yes, it worries us to the extent that in the process, utterances that are made predispose the nation to anxiety. Mm-hmm. But most importantly, it worries us when remarks that come out of those conversations mm-hmm. are remarks which diminish the trust of the citizens in the credibility of the institution that is IBC. Mm-hmm. And you say it behoves all citizens, politicians, leaders, and everybody alike, to help in building our national institutions. Mm-hmm. IBC does not belong to the Commission of Rasta Ethicon today. Uh-huh. All our national institutions must be built. And so when there is a lot of politics mm-hmm. before the announcement of the dates for elections, mm-hmm. that is the risk. But most importantly also, it becomes difficult as IBC to control those conversations because the electoral code only sets in once the elections have been announced. Mm-hmm. So we've had complaints from citizens saying, why is IBC not stopping politician X from talking? We don't have such mandate until the electoral code sets in. It sets in when we announce that elections will be held on this date, and 3 days after the members who have been elected.
But you say that eternally electioneering mood is harmful for the credibility.
Yes, it depends on how it is handled. It can turn harmful.
Perhaps one final question. Yes. We saw an agitated youth-led Gen Z revolt last year.
Yes.
Many have indicated that they would want to register as new voters and make their voices heard through the ballot. Yes. You're projecting 5.7 million new voters registration before the 2027 polls. To a young person watching us tonight, why should he or she register as a new voter?
Why she should?
Why should a young person watching this program register as a voter?
Why shouldn't she? This is their country. I keep telling young people, and by the way, at IBC, we have put all the Gen Zs in one place and told them, we want you to come up with the concept that you will be the people who will be running this commission when we are gone. If you look at my age, all factors remaining constant, I'll depart before these young people. So it is their business to make sure they register and contribute in the direction in which this country should go. We sit in this position by sheer grace of God and luck and destiny, but will not be here forever. Therefore, we owe it to the younger generation to mentor them, to encourage them to take over. And they keep saying, we are not leaders for tomorrow, we are leaders for today. You cannot be a leader if you cannot exercise your civic duty of registering and taking part in the elections. So they have every reason to take part in these elections. Go out and register. By the way, we are estimating 6 million. So we estimate that we'll move from 22.1 to about 28.4 million come 2027, inshallah.
And just on the question of registration, and you have a right not to respond to this question, we have seen again, and I say this as a street talk, of some politicians seemingly suggesting as though they will bring people from different other countries to come and register as voters. Does IEBC have response to that?
Look, those are some of the things that I have said when they come out. When the common man hears this, they lose hope. Because you are telling them that it doesn't matter if you wake up to go and vote. We have plan B, and that plan B is beyond your control. That is not a fair allegation if they are making those allegations. Commissioner
Dr. Alutalala Mukhwana, thank you very much for making time for us tonight on TV47.
Thank you.
And you are more than welcome. You earlier indicated that you are in charge of the communication, publicity, advocacy arm within the commission, and I'm sure we'll seek more clarification as time goes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Asante na kwa heshima na kwa niaba ya IBC, mwenyekiti Rastas, Edunga Thekon, makamishna wenzangu, naomba nikushukuru sana. Nashukuru wenzako kwa kutupatia nafasi, na tunaomba hii nchi yetu sote tusiichome, tuijenge, na panapo makosa tukosoane kwa upendo. Asante.
Thank you, IEBC Commissioner Dr. Alutalala Mukhwana. It's 702 days to the 2027 polls. We are just making sense of IEBC's preparedness ahead of that polls and the mini polls slated for November. Let's get to some business news now.